Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Elsight July 2024 Q2 Investor Presentation webinar. We will be reviewing our business results for this quarter and for the first half. I'm Susan Becker, Head of Marketing at Elsight, and today we have with us our directors of the board, David Furstenberg, Howard Digby, Jim Landau, and Oz Siegel, who is our Director of Finance. As we always have, I want to remind everybody that during the webinar, you're invited to ask questions by pressing the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And we might have some forward-looking statements, and so here is our disclaimer if we make any forward-looking statements during the webinar. And we have 15 minutes for questions, so if we don't get to your question, you can leave it in the box and we'll get back to you later, or you could always write to our email address, ir@elsight.com. And now, without any other delay, I'm handing the baton to our CEO, Yoav Amitai. Yoav?
Thank you, Suzanne, and hi, everyone. Thank you for participating in today's presentation about our previous quarter review and the first half of 2024 and where we at as a company. So we're trying to make those webinars on a quarterly basis to keep the audience updated, so people have the opportunity to ask questions, like Susan mentioned. And I urge you to ask any question you may be interested to be asked. And starting with the results. So since we're after the first half of the year, we wanted to look of how it's looked like if we compare last year H1 and this year's H1, and we see that the numbers are going up pretty dramatically, both in sales revenue, which we for the first time in first half we got over $1 million in sales, US dollars in sales. You see that the jump is pretty high, 83% if you compare it to the same half year last year. And if we're looking on recurrent revenue, which we're talking about it a lot as part of our business strategy of how to create this recurrent revenue as part of our services and what we do. So we're seeing a nice uptick there as well of doubling the recurrent revenue of the half year. And also, if we're looking on the portion of our distribution in the military Homeland Security market, we see also a nice uptick there. On the other side, or on the same side, when we're looking on the burn rate of the company, looking on the entire half year, so we invested $740,000 in the first half of the year, and we'll talk about those numbers and why they are there and what is our expectations moving forward. Some of the new customers that joined us in this quarter, including Lockheed Martin that we announced a month and a half ago, ACSL, the same time, the largest Japanese drone manufacturer, Event 38 and Orchid, both are from the Americas, are companies that are also part of our customer base and growing, and all of that just to show the continued growth that we're doing as we are executing our plans moving forward. When we're looking on what happens to us on the last quarter of 2023, pardon me, is that, like I mentioned in the previous webinar, what happened is that we were exposed to a new market, which wasn't a big market for us at the time, the Homeland Security and Defense market. And we understood what is our value proposition of the product within this market. And second, what will be our go-to-market strategy going into this market. So we were more pulled into this market rather than going there proactively. But once we figure out that we have a great product market fit and we have a great value offering for those type of customers, we started to structure our go-to-market strategy. And just like you saw the number before, we are getting very good traction within those markets. And today, we basically have two markets. We have the commercial market on one hand that continue growing, and we'll continue with our competitive advantage there, which we can consider ourselves as with the biggest market share when we're talking about BVLOS communication solutions. And on the defense market, which is much more mature market, and we're doing only the first steps of what we're doing currently in this market, but already have Lockheed Martin, which is the largest defense contractor in the world, based in the US. For those of you who don't know for a reason, they started to offer their Indigo 4 drones to their customers based on the Halo, on the Elsight Halo. Same as we're looking on more opportunities in this market while we're going to more trade shows and meeting with more clients globally. We're seeing how we are increasing our pipeline within this market and how we are getting to opportunities that are very mature. And it seems that this market is going to continue like we saw on the last 2 quarters, how it's going to continue and to push our business forward, basically, as we're rolling out our go-to-market strategy. On the commercial side, like I said, we want to continue and to make sure that we are keeping with our advancement that we have in this market. So not only that we started to work with companies in different parts of the world, like Japan, ACSL in Japan, but also when we're looking on existing customers and how they're going into new type of use cases and new type of capabilities that they can unlock based on the Halo solution, that shows that both markets at the moment, which are 2 adjacent markets, doing their progressions. And I want to give you some example of those progress that are happening with regard and regardless of our solutions. So starting in the commercial side, we saw a lot of regulatory advancement in the last 3-4 months coming both from the US and Europe. In the US, the House of Representatives reauthorized the FAA to come with the BVLOS framework. So now they have timeline. They know exactly what is the process that are going to happen between now and until we'll have a full BVLOS rules in place that will be very clear for everyone. And that is one, as we all know, this is one of the industry bottleneck at the moment of while these regulatory processes are moving forward. While this has happened, we also see a lot of new waivers coming out for different type of tests, whether it's in the US, again, going back to Dallas-Fort Worth in Texas, that they are doing in the same airspace, currently doing a lot of drone operation to see how all of them are working in the same space. That is done with one of our customer, DroneUp, that are doing the Walmart drone deliveries. Same happening in New York state, that we're seeing that they're providing more waivers to work BVLOS, beyond visual line of sight, with their local drone service providers to provide more type of services from inspections and so on. Orchid, it's one of our partners based in South America, also showing a great result of getting their approvals from regulatory part. And also then we see how it translates into actual business on the other side. So just to show you that the industry, when we're looking again from regulatory perspective, how it's moving forward, then how we see the progress that is happening on the commercial side. When we're looking on the defense side, which I think it's more clear to many of our audience today, and in general, when today investors, or in general, people are looking on the global climate, let's call it, seeing a lot of conflicts happening globally. Some of them are already in place. Some of them are just countries that are getting ready to get ready, unfortunately. But what we see is that we see a very big trend of defense budgets that are going up. Here, we just included in this presentation 3 examples from the US, UK, and Sweden. And just to give you an example about Sweden, because it's very interesting, obviously being in Europe, pretty close to Russia, increased their defense budget by 30% in 2024, up to $10.8 billion US dollars of defense budget. So just to show that this whole market is going in this direction, and not only that it's going in this direction, it also, what happened is that we're seeing that unmanned solutions, whether it's in the air or on the ground, are getting a very critical role within those deployments, just because today in Western world, everyone wants to be remote, wants to save soldier casualties, and in general, making sure that people will be safe. So working remotely, and that sets a very interesting opportunity for us because of our, like I mentioned before, because of our product value proposition and what is our value for those markets. This is why it's become so interesting to us. And this is why we're investing a lot in making sure that we will be at the right place in the right time to do those type of businesses in different parts of the world. Going a little bit highlight about Elsight for those of you who never heard the webinar before. So starting from the technology, it's all proprietary, developed here in Elsight, both the hardware and the software that we're doing. The reason I mention it as a highlight is because that's provide us the opportunity or the capability to be very adaptive to what we want to do with this type of technology. And if we see a need that can be solved with any technological solution, we can take our development resources and put them into this direction, and then we're coming with a new solution to existing problem sometimes even before the customer know they have a problem, and that's create another opportunity for us to grow both with new customers but also with existing customers, of increasing what we call in the industry the ARPU, the average revenue per unit that we're doing on a recurring basis. Looking on the market, which is still substantial, nascent market, both on the commercial side and on the defense side, the numbers are still relatively low, medium low, but we're seeing those numbers going higher and higher, and we also saw it in our results. So looking how those numbers are growing and seeing what are the opportunities we currently have in front of us, which we believe that some of them are very interesting and will mature before the end of the year, will represent a very interesting growth that we can do on different geos, like I said, in different environments, and to provide more services to this type of industry, and how we making ourselves an industry standard. And it sounds very arrogant to say we're going to be the industry standard, but today, only 4 years after, less than 4 years after we released the product to the market, we were the first one to get the FAA type certificate with one of our customers, Aerobotics. We were the first one to go to Walmart to provide them, again, with one of our customers, DroneUp, provide them with drone deliveries, being part of the largest drone deployments in the world, being the supplier for connectivity solution for Lockheed Martin, the biggest defense contractor in the world. So it still might sound arrogant, but we're seeing how we're doing the right steps to become this industry standard, both in the commercial market, but also now building our brand and name in the defense market. From product validation standpoint, like I said, we are in the right place in terms of value proposition. We're seeing it with every new customers that we're reaching to. We're seeing how overwhelmed they are sometimes from the type of solutions or technological solutions and value that we are providing with, and that's represent a very interesting and very strong product market fit. From growth engine perspective, so like I mentioned in the previous webinar, we're looking on 4 main pillars. The first one is recruiting new customers, like we're doing our go-to-market. Like I mentioned before, we added new client during the last quarter. By the way, we added 8 new customers that started to use our systems, as pretty much on the same pace that we were doing before. Looking on increasing the demand from the existing customers, or while they are growing their business, we are growing ours. So that's the second pillar. The third one that I mentioned before is providing more services to those existing customers, and by that increasing the revenue per unit on a per unit basis. So those are mainly recurrent services that we are providing, from remote ID to data services, and the list goes on. And this is how we are also increasing our recurrent revenue that you saw on the first slide, that growing pretty nicely. The last one that I wanted to talk about, speaking about growth engines, is about a technology. So what Elsight is providing, essentially, it's a highly reliable communication solution. And when we're talking about the connected world today, that everything is connected, we can talk about many different market segments that we're currently not even going after, that can represent another growth engines for us. So when we will feel that we are dominating this market that we're currently going after, and we have the strengths and the resources to go after additional market, when that will be the right timing for us, this is when we will do it, and that will create, again, another growth engines that are completely in parallel to those that we're working on today. So looking on highly reliable communication needs and where it is needed. So here are just a few examples in these slides of the total addressable markets of those markets. and how we can go to these markets or ideas for markets that we can go after. Looking on what we actually did in the last quarter, so from going after a lot of industry events, we participate both in Leipzig in Germany. We have participated in Homeland Security GPAC trade show. We were in the US, in SoftWeek US, in Tampa, Florida. That's the second largest defense show in the US, was happening last May. We were going to Japan, to the Japan Drone Week with our partners, a company called Navicom. We signed, actually, during this quarter, we signed officially our distribution and reselling agreement with Navicom. They're now representing us in Japan, and I'll talk about it in the next slide about their success in this market and what we're currently doing there. We're doing a lot of industry events like AUVSI, the biggest association for unmanned vehicles, started in the 70s. We had a webinar with all their clients having more than 130 people registered to the webinar, which was very successful. And we're obviously now doing all the follow-ups, which all of them are either partners or prospects, and we're doing all the follow-ups to create those kind of demands and see how we translate it into additional business. And another point, just to show you our strengths in the industry, so Ray Kashi, who is our CTO and co-founder in Elsight, he was nominated in the last months to be the co-chair of the ICJA. ICJA, it's an organization by the GSMA. ICJA stand for Aerial Connectivity Joint Activity, which what it essentially does, it's bring all the network operators, all the largest network operators, to be under one umbrella and to see how they can provide services, more services to drones and what they can do there. And while Roy is the chair, is now the co-chair together with Kapil from Nokia, from Ericsson, sorry. Now you understand what is our position in the industry and how we can affect trends and regulatory decisions and everything that we're doing there. So this is also a very interesting development that happens to us during the last quarter. From customer perspective, so we mentioned during the quarter, we announced about Lockheed Martin and the fact that they are now started to offer their Indigo 4 drones with the Halo built in. On the ACSL side, ACSL is the largest drone manufacturer in Japan, recently got another approval for BVLOS. We are working with them through our partner Navicom, which is also, I think, a very interesting point to mention, that for the first time, we were able to sell directly through channels and not us going directly to the customer, which means that the product maturity and the industry maturity is getting there. And we almost had zero touch in the sale process. Navicom ran the whole process, representing us in a very good way. The result was very good, and the bottom line of being able to do what they done of closing ACSL, the largest drone manufacturer in Japan, which again show what the strengths of the product and the fact that the industry is maturing. Sorry. Just a brief about the Halo, the product, for those of you who didn't listen to previous presentations or never watch our videos, that you are very welcome to look on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. In general speaking, what we're doing, we are aggregating multiple networks to create the most robust wireless communication infrastructure. And that can be done for many different use cases, like I mentioned before. Currently, we are focused on the uncrewed, in the uncrewed market, both aerial and ground vehicles, but that can go to many different applications and many different sectors. So working with our algorithm that runs on the edge and also in the cloud, what we're basically doing is we're aggregating multiple IP links, for example, cellular, 4G and 5G, the Telstra and Optus of the world. And we are also adding to that SATCOM connectivity, like the Starlink of the world or different type of satellite enablers or providers. And also from the other side, working with point-to-point communication that are kind of a local communication. So what we're providing to our customers, the ability to manage all those networks together into one robust network solution that will work for them. Now, you see the different flavors of the product, either as an OEM that will be integrated into the drone, or as a standalone box that will be next to the operator sometimes, or in the field. The good thing about it that it's one size fits all. So every type of industry segment that we're going after, whether it's in the commercial side or the defense side, every kind of use cases are using exactly the same product from our perspective. Different customers can have different configurations, and the product have almost unlimited number of configuration that customer can do with it. But the baseline is the same product. From development perspective, we don't need to develop more to be able to go into new use cases. Is exactly the same. Walmart and Lockheed Martin are using exactly the same not set of features, but exactly the same baseline of the product. And that's just to show how flexible the product is and how we can go into new markets. And we don't need to do a lot of development and a lot of investment into this to go into new market. It doesn't say that we're not developing and we will always continue to develop and to invest in developing the product just because we want to add more features, like I mentioned before, or to do more flavors that I will mention in a second. But the baseline is the same baseline, and that's create a very strong one to build on top of it a lot of business use cases that we can do both in the defense market and in the commercial world. Speaking of new product that we're going out, so we're expecting this September to go out with a new product, a new flavor of the Halo, basically, which will be an aftermarket kit for the DJI drones, which is the largest drone manufacturer in the world. For their commercial grade drones, we will have an aftermarket kit that can make your DJI drone go BVLOS. And that will be a very big news for a lot of first responders throughout the world that are using those drones and currently limited in range or inspections or different type of commercial grade users that needs to go for longer distances in a more reliable way. From competitive landscape perspective, so looking on competitors and how that is looking like. So what we have here, we have on the right side, we have different type of companies, and on the left side, we see the type of solutions. So RF, for example, those are point-to-point solutions that are very limited by range. They do have their advantages, but for those applications that need to go for longer distances or need to have a single operator operating multiple drones, this is the type of systems that are not applicable there because they're very limited by range. When we're talking about satellite is relatively heavy and very expensive if we compare it to different type of solutions. When we're looking on Starlink as an example that weighs more than 1.5 kilos and don't really can go on a drone, but still they're getting smaller and smaller, and that will create another interesting layer that we can use as part of our solution. Single cellular solutions that are available in the market, this is part of our competitive landscape of having one model that is based on Optus or Telstra, and that have its own limitation because you are using only one network, and because of network coverage or network outages, this is kind of what can happen there. And a combination of a cellular and RF as a failover solution. Now the Halo, on the bottom line, you see our solution, which is kind of a combination of all of the above. So we can aggregate both RF, satellite, single or multi-cellular communication link. And by that, like I mentioned, we can create a very robust communication layer that using all of those networks together at the same time. Sorry. Looking from our customer map, so like I said, during the last quarter, we added another 8 new logos to this map. You see that the distribution is very large. We're working all over the world. Those are companies either are OEMs, so they're manufacturing their own drones. They can be drone service providers, so they take other type of drones. They buy drones from the OEMs, put their own systems and provide services to their customers, or end customers that buying the drones and making their own upgrades to use their drones. And we have all kind of customers that are using all those type of systems in different ways, in different use cases. And today, I think we can say with a lot of comfort that we are one of the companies that have the largest experience in BVLOS in general. We already surpassed 250,000 flight hours, which is unprecedented in the industry in terms of experience and product maturity. And with all those customers together, continuing growing this number and adding more customers into this map, this is what we're doing in both, like I said, commercial and defense markets. Just to give some example, pardon me, so just a second. To give some examples, I just took some of the logos that you saw on the map and just putting them big on the screen. So Lockheed Martin, based in the US, like I said, I guess it's pretty obvious, the largest defense contractor in the world, are part of our solutions today. DroneMatrix is a company in Belgium doing mainly seaports and airport surveillance and data collection for kind of inspection. DroneUp based in the US doing Walmart drone deliveries today. They have the biggest deployment with Walmart operating hundreds of drones in the air, doing deliveries as we speak, actually on a daily basis throughout the day. IAI, Elta, and other big defense contractor that are using our systems both in aerial vehicle and ground vehicle for a lot of different use cases, a lot of interesting use cases. Speedbird is a company based in Brazil. They have their own drones, and they also provide the services by themselves, doing everything from last middle mile logistics to healthcare services to inspection with different type of drones. Today, under their belt, they have 10 different type of drones, all of them going out with the Halo, 100% of the drones going out with the Halo on board. And they are continuously increasing their demand and looking into the future, growing their business. Event 38, another company that are doing inspection, having very interesting customer base in the US, mainly in inspection for oil and gas companies, and recently have a lot of news about their share development or their partnership with some of the largest oil and gas companies in the world. And last but not least, like I already mentioned, ACSL in Japan, that doing different type of projects with different type of drones that they're using the Halo for, and started to ship Halo to their customers based on the Halo. And this is just a short list out of all the more than 100 logos that you see on the map before that. And just to give you an example of different type of use cases, different type of geography in different locations in the world, different type of companies, from big companies to small and medium-sized companies, just to show you how diverse our company or our partners map look like, and how good is our distribution within this market. Again, like I mentioned throughout the presentation, both in the commercial and the defense market. So how it's all translate into actual revenue. In our revenue model, we have three main elements. One is the hardware sale. When we're talking about the Halo hardware sale, this is on average of 67% gross margins when we're selling the hardware, which every drone have either one, sometimes have more than one Halo on board. On top of it, we have our cloud service, the Elsight Cloud, which is an essential part of the product. You cannot buy the hardware without having our cloud service. This is where we see 65 to 72% gross margin. And that's because of the scale. As we see the scale going larger and larger, our infrastructure costs will remain pretty much the same. So we will see the gross margin going very high here, as it's mainly software services that we're providing there. And this is this element. Another interesting element is the data usage, which we are selling the actual SIM cards globally, not only in the US today, but also in Europe and other parts of the world. When we're seeing that we see our customers wants to have one-stop shop for all their connectivity needs, and we wanted to become this one-stop shop by providing them not only the hardware, the cloud services to be able to monitor those units, but also how you're connected with the networks and providing them the actual SIM cards, which again become a very interesting business for us on looking on a recurrent basis with a pretty good gross margin. You see that There's a very big variance there. That depends on the utilization of the programs, but basically it shows, if we're looking on average where we at today, we're sitting in a very healthy gross margin, also in the data usage that we are selling to our customers. Looking on the results, so we took it as a yearly result and compare it to this half year. So we are seeing that we already got over what we've done. We increased it pretty dramatically by 83% of what we've done in the previous half year of 2023. I will say in general, looking on Elsight revenue, which is not seasonal, but still we're seeing it in the last 4 years, that the first half year is always weaker than the second half of the year, which again will represent a very nice uptick in their revenue, and that will create a very good result for the year for 2024. And looking forward, like I mentioned before, all the business that we're seeing currently in front of us of opportunities, both in the defense market and in the commercial market, this is very interesting for us, the position that we're currently sitting in. When we're talking about looking forward and where we're going, so like I mentioned in the beginning, we're currently feel that we have a lot of greenfield that we can play and go to market and continue and develop our business in those markets, in the military and Homeland Security markets and the commercial market. Both represent a very interesting opportunities in the near term, medium term, and long term. While if you'll ask me how the long term will look like, I have no doubt that the commercial market will become much bigger than that. But because of the current world climate and what we see, how we see governments today to equip themselves on the Homeland Security side, I believe that in the short term, we will see a much bigger numbers in the Homeland Security and defense market. But while we're keeping our competitive advantage, like I mentioned, on the commercial market, this is where we will see the bigger opportunities in the long term of having drone deliveries or inspections or private and public security and so on. So those two markets are very interesting market for us, and we feel that our product market fit or our value proposition within those two markets is very strong. And looking on the opportunities we're currently working in, and hopefully we'll be able to communicate to the market in the coming weeks and months, that represents a very interesting position where we're currently at. So with that, I will hand it over back to Susan for answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Yoav. That was very interesting. I'd like to invite people to send questions. And if we don't have any questions now, then we're very happy to take questions on our by email, ir@elsight.com. Okay, we have a question. Yoav?
Just 1 second. So that one question that came in is about the current burn rate, looking on this quarter versus the last quarter, and how the burn rate was increased. I would like to invite Oz, if you're with us, to take this question.
Sure. So as Yoav mentioned earlier in the webinar, so we focused in this quarter, also in the last one, to go deeper and deeper in the defense market. If you look at the last quarter, we saw that potentially we could have remained the same burn rate, but it would have slowed us in getting into the defense market, which is a new market for us in the last few months. So our decision was to increase the expenses and our efforts in there, which meant more marketing expenses and also more development to be better adjusted to this market. In addition, the defense market in general is known as its longer sales cycle and also longer payment terms. So also the opportunities that we're now seizing and we see that we're after will have a bit longer time till we get there. And once we get there, of those we already got, still have much longer payment terms than used in the commercial side.
Thank you, Oz. Yoav, there's one more question coming in about the potential ban of the DJI drones in the US, and what would be the repercussions for Elsight?
First of all, I would say that we might see it not only in the US, but in other territories as well. I think that looking or mentioning the product that I mentioned before that we're currently developing and we're about to get out this September, which is an aftermarket kit for DJI communication link, basically. And that can assure some customers that their communication link is safe and nobody can hack into it and so on. So looking from the DJI ban in the US, they already have hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of drones deployed in the field. So as an aftermarket kit, this is not only going after new kind of drones that are going to the market, but existing drones that are in the market. So if we're looking on industry that is already exists with a very big deployments in the US, having a lot of those drones doing a lot of different type of missions, I think that this ban might even be a positive thing for us as we're going out with this product, because now they can utilize their drone that they have. They already acquired them, they already put the money, and now they can use them because they're using this aftermarket kit and changing the communication to our link, which can be a very interesting opportunity for us. We'll see how this will unfold. There is still time to go on this DJI ban, obviously. It's an election year in the US this year, so you never know what's going to happen with it. But I think in both cases, looking on the DJI resellers in the States, which we have great connection with, they will continue to sell. If they're not selling new drones, they will sell and upgrade kits for their drones, and that can come from us. So I think it's an interesting opportunity. Whether it will be a ban or not, this product can be very interesting. Specifically about the ban, I don't have a specific comment. We will see, like I said, how this will unfold and how this will progress. Obviously, we're following it to see what will be the results of it.
Thank you, Yoav. We have a question. What risks have we identified in relation to our growth strategy?
So they have multiple folds for that. That's a great question. But looking from risk perspective in this global climate, what we're seeing is that we need to create stability for our customers. The reason being is because today customers are really afraid of long lead times and what happens to supply chains. And as a company that's working in the hardware space, we do see those kind of issues that are coming because of what's happening in the Middle East with the Houthis that stopping some of the vessels that are going there and so on. What we're doing to mitigate those type of risks is actually we did it also in the COVID, sorry, is that we're making sure that we're keeping our inventory in the right levels so we can provide our customers with what they need when they need it. And in general, I would say that going after the defense market, looking at it as a strategy, as a relatively small company, that there is a lot of, I won't call it a risk, but there are a lot of challenges that are happening there. And while we started with the biggest in the industry, like Lockheed Martin and others, I think we've shown that we overcome some of those risks. So I think those are the major things that we're seeing in front of us looking forward.
Thank you, Yoav. Next question. Why is DroneUp so slow, given in the press we see news weekly in regards to the expansion for deliveries, like Wing, for example, with Walmart?
Yeah, another good question that I'm glad that that was asked. So first of all, what I think that is important for investors to understand, to be able to detect when we're talking about a pure marketing PR, which is not necessarily related to any new deployment or anything like that, but it's a pure marketing act and a new development that is happening in the market. Now, in our market, it's sometimes very hard to understand what is just a PR, pardon me for my my language, but just hot air, and when it's really actual news that something happened on the back of it. I would say that DroneUp, like I said in previous call, and it still remains, today they have the largest deployment with Walmart. If you compare it to all the other providers of Walmart, they're the only company that was Walmart was invested in equity. So they're in a very good position. It doesn't mean that they will use only DroneUp as a service provider, but I think that they're in a very good position, and they're still the largest in Walmart services. So I think they are in a very good position. Trying to compete with Google's marketing power of Wing being a Google company, that's a challenge, but I don't think it's something that it's have a lot of actual operations behind it.
Thank you, Yoav. We have another question. Have we seen interest for other industries, not drone industries, yet that they require secure connectivity and connections?
Yeah, so we definitely did. While we are working in the defense market, we're seeing more needs. By the way, not only defense, but also Homeland Security, more needs for secure, reliable communication link. And today, some of those deployments are not only related to uncrewed, it's still in a small percentage. And like I said, keeping our focus and making sure that we're going after the big opportunities they have in front of us, they're still in the unmanned side, but we do have a lot of deployments that are not related to the unmanned industries, like local stationary sensors that need to have high reliable communication link, a backhaul link, and so on. This is just one example, and we have, if you'll go to our website, you'll see a different type of use cases that are done in the defense market, which are not related only to the unmanned market, but for other type of needs that are coming from the industry. So the answer is absolutely yes, but still our focus, like I said, is in the unmanned use cases.
Thank you very much. I believe that's the end of our questions. So I want to remind you, you're always welcome to send us questions at ir@elsight.com. And as always, you'll be receiving a copy of this recording in your email. And we are here for you, so please ask anything you'd like. Thank you very much today for attending. Thank you, Yoav, for presenting the results, and for all the members of the board of Elsight. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.